Hi, my name is Paul Boehnke, and I work with a lot of solo entrepreneurs to help them overcome the negative self-talk that's at the root of things like procrastination and perfectionism and worry and all sorts of things. And I really just wanting to help them have more impact, make more money, and have way more fun. And I'm here today with Lisa, and we're going to be engaging in a real coaching session around a topic that's important to her. Now, you may be asking, why am I holding coaching sessions, which are usually very confidential, and then publishing them here? Well, I'm hoping that those who are viewing and dealing with similar issues might be able to find some benefit from watching this. That Lisa, of course, will benefit from the coaching. That those who wonder what coaching is really like can get a small glimpse behind the curtain. And that newer coaches will hopefully find this a good example of powerful coaching. But before we begin, as always, I just want to say, Lisa, thank you for your willingness to talk openly about things that are important to you, because really it's your honesty and authenticity which will be the real gift to all of us. So thank you for that.
So it is my pleasure. And what I have discovered in coaching is that vulnerability is power. And that when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable with ourselves, to see the things that we don't really want to look at, that enables breakthroughs. So that's why I'm here. And you have been so helpful to me in so many ways over these last few years that, you know, I want to share the power of that work and do it authentically. So thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, Lisa. Yes. So before we sort of dive in with any other my usual coaching questions, is there any questions or comments that you have that you want to make before we get started?
So, I was really thinking about that. And I don't know that I have anything specific, but something always bubbles to the surface. You know,
Yeah.
um, if I can share, I feel like I've been in a good zone with the business growing. I'm at 2.5 years. So I'm like really getting close to that 3 year mark where we see if this business has legs. And I feel pretty good. I think that we have legs. And I'm feeling more energy as well as more confidence. So my inner critic is open to success right now. We can talk about it. So, but I struggled with that a lot. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs do, especially when they're starting from scratch. Um, I was 57 when I started this, which for many people is the time that they want to start winding down on their business. They're thinking at least about retiring
Yeah.
and planning for, 6 years from now when I retire. And I was just like, let's just plan for what I'm going to do the rest of my life.
Mhm.
Um, so that was a little risky, but exciting too.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. I've heard from so many people who are in this middle life stage. I don't know what middle age
Yeah.
is, but somewhere in the middle
Yeah.
that they're feeling like, oh, this is too old for me to start this, or I should have done this a long time ago, or and so just the testimony you bring about, it's time to start wherever you are. That
Yeah.
there's not a time. That's great. Well, thank you for sharing that. So when you think about sort of what's going on in your business or your life, what are the little niggling things that sort of trip you up every once in a while?
So, so I think one of my niggling things right now is social media marketing.
Okay.
Like that is something that I know is really crucial in the coaching world because people find you in different ways. And um, a lot of my practice is word of mouth, which is wonderful. But in order to become known, you have to be where the audience is. And um, it's hard. It's been really hard for me to set up a social media calendar, like something as concrete as that.
Mhm.
And I took a course with a colleague this is her business, and she gave me all the instructions, and I'm not really doing it. And I
Yeah.
know like I can fake it, but I want to actually be more intentional. So
Wow.
that's sort of where I am.
That is a great topic. I think, thank you for bringing that. And I think it's a relevant one for so many entrepreneurs in general. So when you think about this conversation and the topic of the social media marketing and how do I get myself to do what I already know I'm supposed to be doing, what is it that you would really like to accomplish by the end of this conversation?
I think I'd like to have a strategy as well as sort of a self evaluation, right? Like I'm feeling a little, I don't know if the word I would use is lazy or a little bit like I'm procrastinating, um, because I know what I need to do and I'm not doing it yet. At the same time, I have a scheduled appointment to get social media photos taken in a week. So it's not like it's so far down the road, but it just feels like when I go on social media, I get sucked in. And it's hard for me to just use the time on social media to do my own marketing without going through that dark hole of like being on it for an hour and feeling like I've wasted time. So like both of those things are happening. So like that's sort of what I think is pushing me back from going on the social media is my own um, getting sucked into the vortex. Um, and I want to use that time more strategically.
Uh, Use the time. I take notes. And just so you know, if I'm typing, that's what I'm doing. I'm not somewhere else. And all
I
I'm
know.
typing
I
are
got
words
it.
you say. Want
Yeah.
to use the time more, did you say efficiently? Was that right? Or
Strategically.
strategically? Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. So finding some strategy, you said, and self-evaluation. Tell
Okay.
me, fill that out a little bit more. When we think of the strategy that you're looking for, what is the strategy that you're looking for in this conversation? Because you said you've talked with people and gotten sort of a strategy for building a calendar, but
Right.
what's the strategy you want now?
I think I want to start thinking about what I'm trying to communicate in like a step-by-step way. So really, what do my clients need to know? And how am I responding to what they're struggling with?
Okay.
Right. So like the social media person I met with was like, pick a theme for a week, or if it's like Earth Day, do something related to Earth Day. But that doesn't really feel authentic to me. And I want to be of service in the social media and not just selling. I want to provide something that people need. And I think maybe that, that's work, figuring that out. And I haven't directed myself to that work. So then the self-judgment comes in, like I'm not really doing it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that's great. One of the most important steps in building a business is sort of getting really clear on what you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when we're not really clear, nobody else is going to know either. So when we think about posting on social media or emails or whatever marketing channel we choose, it's really important to be clear. Great. So that helps. And then you also talked about self-evaluation. Can you fill that out for me a little more? What did you mean by that?
Well, I'm judging myself on what I'm doing. Like or what I'm not doing. And then I find that in order for me to like design an Instagram post, it takes me a really long time. Like for one little post, it will take me over an hour to really get it to look the way I want to look. And like I'm not great on Canva. And so all of these things. So knowing that, I think is what also pushes me back from getting started because I don't feel as proficient as I would like.
Beautiful. This is textbook. This is perfect because this is exactly what happens when maybe we are not completely aligned with what we're trying to do, or there's some other story that we're telling ourselves about it that just gets in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. This makes total sense, and completely normal and common. It is, we all experience this in one way or another. Well, why is gaining this sort of strategy and this clarity around what you do, and why is cleaning up the self evaluation stuff? Why is that important to you?
Because I want my social media to matter. And I also want to feel like I'm doing a good job of it. So I'm like, that's my judgment is like that that I'm getting the A is sort of in my own head. Like I'm so used to the measurement, right? And I don't necessarily know how to measure the social media impact and who's grading me. So I think it's me grading me.
Okay.
And um, I want to start before I'm ready. Like I really want to be able to confidently do that without, the voice.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned one of the reasons it's important is so that your social media matters, that you're wanting to make a difference. You mentioned earlier being of service. Makes
Yeah.
sense. This would be important to you. Absolutely. So when you think about sort of moving past these little roadblocks, these little bumps in the road here, what is it that you believe we really need to address or resolve in order to move past that in a powerful way for you?
Ask the question again.
Yes. So when you think about these little blocks that we're trying to work our way past, the self-evaluation and the creating the strategy that matters, what is it inside you that you think we need to address or resolve to sort of clear those issues away?
So what just came up for me is fear of success. I
Okay.
wasn't thinking that before, but you asked the question and that's what came to mind.
Yeah.
And I never really thought about it that way before.
Hmm.
But there's one story where you're struggling to grow your business, and then there's another story where your business is a success. And what makes it a success? And I want to be in this at the same time as I'm in this. So how can I be struggling and a success? But I think it is both and. Like we're always, growing. Growing is struggle. It's changing, it's morphing. Um, but I want to feel successful. And so is that I'm providing service and that my clients are progressing? Is it that I'm making a certain amount of money? Is it that I have a certain number of clients? What is my definition of success? And when it comes to social media, how do I know? I think maybe that's it. Like, how do I even know if I'm a success?
Mm. So I'm going to ask you that first question that you just asked yourself. What is your definition of success right now?
It's a good question. I mean, on the one in one area, I definitely measure success by how many clients I'm serving and how much income I'm having. I definitely measure my monthly and my year to year. So I want to be growing, which I'm doing, but how I'm growing and who I'm servicing, because I feel like I still may be taking some clients that aren't necessarily my ideal clients, but because I want to have clients,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I also think that in my field of divorce coaching, very few people are ideal because they're not in, I- I'm I'm helping them transform from the fear and panic zone to a more clarity zone. And so when I meet them, they're not ideal.
Yeah. Yeah. They are, I'm guessing, often sort of inundated by, as you mentioned, the panic and the fear, and it's hard to see through or past that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for the work that you do because this is important work for the world.
Thank you.
So when I asked you about your definition of success, the first two things you mentioned is how many clients do I have and what's my income? And there's a sense that you always want to be growing.
Yeah,
Uh, why are those things important to you?
because I want to be self-sufficient in my income and I want to be earning enough that um, well, originally my goal was to like match what I'm getting in alimony so I don't feel dependent anymore. That was that was a piece of it. Um, Now what I've noticed and now that I work with CDFAs, I don't have to actually earn what I'm getting in alimony because there's a lot of different places that income comes in. So, and that's also something you taught me. Like, does the money have to come through a certain channel in order to be seen as like income for you, like success for you? So that's one piece. But also I want to fill my day with service because what I find most satisfying and gratifying is when I'm in session with my clients and
Mhm.
when I see them have a shift and I know that they are changing and learning how to thrive in a different way, that feeds me.
Mm.
So like to do that more is not just that I want to serve more, but I get it back. I
Yeah.
really feel like that's when I'm in the zone.
Mhm. So I heard two things there. That one is to be of service, that you want to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
That's a lovely thing. And the other part seems to be sort of around self sufficiency. Do you want to be self sufficient? You don't want to be dependent on other things.
Right.
So, how do we know? How do you know when you are sufficiently self sufficient? What does that look like?
Hmm. So I haven't asked myself that question. And what is sufficiently self-sufficient? Um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I have a definition or like a marker of what would tell me I am sufficiently self-sufficient.
Yeah.
I think what I did is I do have a number in my head of what would be my target. Like at the end of 3 years, I'd like to be earning this much. Actually, not even earning. I'd like my gross to be a certain number.
Mhm.
Because what I've learned, when you train as a coach, they don't train you in business. So there is a cost to doing business. And so I'm looking at the gross as opposed to the net, but I may need to look at the net because that really is what I can use. Um, but at the same time, so that's one marker for me that would tell me I'm being sufficiently self-sufficient. Um, and I think sufficiently self-sufficient that I'm earning enough that I could hire support.
Okay.
Because I think that if there were some of the tasks that are my less fun tasks that I could give to a trusted assistant,
Mhm.
I would be able to be more self-sufficient.
Yeah.
So it doesn't always have to be me.
Mhm.
So I think that's part of it.
Okay. Thank you. So let's assume for the moment that you've gotten to this self-sufficiency. What's the emotional impact on you? How does that feel?
Well, I think that there is a relief and a release.
Okay.
There will be less stress that it's all on me, although it will still all be on me. But if I don't have to do all the bookkeeping and create my create my own social media calendar, if I, get the photo products and then have the vision that I could say, so this is what I want to communicate, and then hand it off to someone else to design. Even though I like the designing, I recognize that's not my strength. That would that would free me up to do other work in building the business.
Uh, So it's interesting. You said three things. How would it feel? You would feel relief, release, and less stress.
Yeah.
How true is it that that's what your real goals are?
So by the question, you're suggesting to me that you don't think those are the real goals.
Um, no, actually,
Yeah.
I am thinking those are your real goals.
Okay. I mean,
And
I
it's
would,
not a social
yeah,
media calendar. And
right.
frankly, it's not even self sufficiency, but it's a sense of relief and release and less stress.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I don't want to put things on you.
No, but
So
those,
tell me what resonates with you.
yeah, no, I mean, those are my words. And I think that that's really true. And that what I feel in running my own business is sometimes a tightness and a pressure to perform when I have limited resources. And the resources aren't just about the money, but it's about the time and the talent and the skill. And I want to master everything now, but I want some release that I don't have to master everything.
Ah, yes.
I think that's what it is.
Relief, release, less stress. Would more support be one of those things also?
Oh, yeah. I think
Oh,
so.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So feel supported.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense to me that if there is this feeling like I don't quite have the amount of support that I want, that I'm experiencing sort of a lot of stress around things, that I'm putting pressure to perform on myself, it makes a lot of sense that the idea of putting together a social media calendar and following through would be pretty challenging.
Yeah.
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 So no wonder.
Yeah. No wonder.
Yeah.
Um, but even when you have a conflicted relationship with a thing or a action or a person, you still need to engage with it, right? So like I have a conflicted relationship with social media,
Yeah.
but that's where the audience may be.
Yeah.
So that's what I acknowledge that, but and maybe that's the first place that the block is, but as uncovered, it's about the relief and the release and the less stress.
Yeah. And so finding a way to market your business in a way that attracts people in,
Yeah.
brings clients, brings money, brings sustainability, self-sufficiency,
Yeah.
that is also less stressful and more supportive and brings a sense of relief. That just feels good just to say that to me.
Yeah, it does. And when you say it, I recognize that that is the service that I offer to my clients.
Ah,
And part of my story when I talk about why I do this work is because I want to be the support for people that I didn't have in my own divorce.
yes.
And so here I am sort of in a similar but different place where
Yes.
I I'm looking for the support that maybe I'm missing.
Yeah.
I kind of grew up in a way where I thought I was supposed to know how to do everything, even when no one taught me. And so I just did it and I wasn't always right. And I sometimes made mistakes and I could always correct them, but it created a lot of struggle because I didn't think I was allowed to ask questions.
Mm,
And
yeah.
so I would love that opportunity. Okay, so what do I need right now? How can you help me? And that's what this is. That's what the coaching is.
Yeah. Yeah. So based on what you've said, it's sounding as if when you think about posting on social media, when you think about putting together this calendar, following through on the steps that are there,
Yeah.
it sounds as if the main thoughts in your mind in that process is sort of, let's see, how did you say you there was this pressure to perform that I need to do this to make my business XYZ.
Yeah.
What would be different if you approached the exact same tasks with the idea of, I wonder how I can be of best service to people who might see my posts? In what way might that change things? Or would it?
So I think what it would do is put me in alignment with my values,
Uh,
so like, and this is some of the work I do is like to start from the why instead of the what or the how, right? In my co-parenting work that I do, we really focus from the very beginning on starting with why. Like, why am I in this work of trying to co-parent with someone that I can't deal with?
yeah,
Right? And so if we answer that question because of the kids, we want our kids to be strong.
yeah,
And so in the same way, if I can ask myself the question like, why do I need to post on social media? If the answer is so I can be of service rather than so I could build business, it's a different purpose. It's a different why.
yeah. And how might that different why play out as you're posting and the responses that you do?
Right,
How
right.
might that change?
I think it would give me a different perspective on the content I put out and how I design it. So
Okay.
maybe I could have more fun with designing it and also maybe I can make it more interactive because when I'm interacting with my audience as opposed to frontal, which is what I do when I develop, as a teacher of adults. Like it wasn't about feeding information in, it was about engaging with information and getting questions from my students on what they understood and what they needed to know.
So it sounds like it would change your approach to how you
Yeah,
write
yeah,
things. You said it would be more fun,
yeah,
that it would be in alignment with your values. You seem to hint at the fact that it might even have more impact.
yeah.
What do you think would be, following a little bit on this impact, what do you think would be the effect on those who see your posts if you're coming from this place of being of service?
I think it would touch them differently.
Hmm.
And I'm hoping that they will feel seen as opposed to me feeling like I have to be seen,
Ooh,
right? How about
there's a
that?
big shift.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
how does it feel to say that?
It's great. That feels great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
So,
that's a total awareness, right? My goal is to see my clients. And if I can, you know, just turn the perspective to like, that's my goal. So my social media needs to see them.
wow, that feels very different in the way you
Yeah.
talk about it.
Yeah.
And I'll also say, I think I sense a different energy in your face as well, that there's something a little clearer, a little calmer.
Yeah.
Is that true? I mean, is that your experience?
Yeah. No, I just had like a physical, like, wow. Like I could feel it in my chest and I had like that aha
Yeah.
moment that I'm hoping my clients always have. So thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, that was, that was like a wow.
Yeah. And that pretty much came from you. I had a
Yeah.
couple of questions in there,
Yeah.
but the realization was yours.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you for uncovering it. I talk a lot about uncovering because I think so much is within each of us that we layer messages on top of. So we lose that self-knowledge.
Yeah.
And so this work is about uncovering and taking off layers of messaging that have reduced how we feel about ourselves to something else.
Yes. And that really is the power of coaching. We've all got stuff to uncover. And I speak to a lot of coaches, and I always ask the question, so how many of you coach yourself? And what's always interesting to me is there's a few hands that go up and sort of people like, we all coach ourselves.
Yeah.
Of course we do. But it's often not the most effective. I had one person say, yes, I always lie to my coach when I'm my coach. It's true.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just human nature. And so that's why working with someone like you can be such a powerful thing because they come with a different perspective and ask the question that we wouldn't ask ourselves.
Yeah.
That's why this is powerful.
Yeah.
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 So, as we're approaching the end of our time here together, I am curious to know to what degree you believe we've made some progress on what you were hoping to get out of this.
Oh, I think we made huge progress.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Okay.
feel like I now have a totally different perspective on how to approach my social media, and that the measures that I have in my head about it are the wrong, are are not really the appropriate measures.
Yeah.
So yeah, I need to earn a certain amount of money. I mean, that's a bottom line.
Yeah.
But if I look at social media as another avenue to serve, then it's a different thing.
Yeah.
It's a really different thing.
It seems highly likely that it will be way easier to earn the money you want to earn when you're serving clients through social media and
Yeah.
they are moved and transformed by that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I talk frequently about attracting clients.
Right.
This is how you do it. You find what's in alignment with you and get clear about, as you said, why you're doing something.
Yeah.
And then what flows from that is natural, organic, it's attractive, it's powerful. Yeah,
Yeah. I'm taking notes myself.
sure.
So
That's great.
yeah. Yeah.
So, what else do you need to help this session feel complete for you?
Okay, so I was going to say a virtual assistant, but I'm going
I think that's completion in a different thing, but
to
okay,
that's the what. That's the what.
yes,
Um, I feel like we've really gone a big way toward helping me get over that block on
okay,
social media,
yeah,
because that shift is in alignment with what I do.
yeah,
And when I was training in the social media, I was looking at the what and
mm,
the how and not the why.
yes,
And so I think that's why it was like, it didn't feel like it was comfortable to me. It wasn't in my skin because it wasn't my purpose. It was just the how and the what. What do I have to do and how often do I have to do it? And and I have to. So now I want to.
yes.
So
Yes. It is so easy to find out the what and the why. I mean, the what and the how. I mean, you can
yeah,
YouTube that. You can go to, I mean, there's tons of resources,
yeah,
but it's the why, which takes care of things like procrastination or perfectionism or imposter syndrome or
yeah,
anxiety or.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm going to ask you one more question here. And that is, what is one little step that you could take, let's say in the next couple of days, to put this new perspective into action?
Road test it.
Okay.
So what I want to do is um, think about a question that my potential clients are asking themselves
Okay.
and write that question out. And that's my social media. And say, if this isn't it, what else is? And invite them. That's the call to action. So I
Great.
think that could be the social media post I put out this week.
Great. This sounds like a concrete plan of action to really turn this shift that you just experienced
Yeah.
into something tangible.
Yeah.
Terrific. Well, thank you, Lisa, again for your willingness to be a part of this and your openness and your honesty. And I would love to hear how this turns out. If you would care to share it with me sometime, I would love to hear.
I will definitely keep you posted. And as always, I'm so um, grateful for your ability to bring this out in me.
You
You
are
know,
most welcome.
we all have different mentors and teachers and coaches, which is what we were until they called us coaches, right? We were mentors and teachers. We were leaders. And um, sometimes we feel like, okay, it's time to go it alone.
Mhm.
And then it's nice to come back.
Absolutely.
And it's not like I'm returning, it's more like a spiral.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's great. Thank you again, Lisa. And I look forward to next time we talk.
Okay. Thank you so much. Me too. Me
My
too.
pleasure.